Hey, college wrestling fans, it's JT1Wrestle here. And after a long, grueling 6 month season, college wrestling has came to an end. Here to recap with us will be the head coach of St. Ambrose University, Bo Bettinson. Thanks for being on the show today, Coach.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You bet. So I'm going to start here with you. Heart of America Championships. You guys head in, and on paper, the prediction is to get Giuseppe Gira through to Wichita, but both Giorgino Moraga and especially Josh Zeman step it up, out wrestle their seeds, and earn a trip to nationals. Take me through those moments watching both Moraga and Zeman pull off some huge upsets and earn a trip to the NAIA national tournament.
Yeah, man. I mean, going into it, we knew their ability. Like, it didn't really surprise me, to be honest. Like, obviously, we were super excited for him, but I kind of expected it, especially out of Giorgino. Like, he wrestling so well down the stretch. I figured he'd be right in the mix, and then Josh, when Josh is on, man, Josh is really really hard to wrestle. It's just putting it together throughout a whole tournament, right? You'd see flashes, you know, one or two matches at a time, but he had never. That was the first college tournament he'd ever placed at, which is crazy because that kid is so tough. But it was just getting him to do it for an entire tournament, and he finally turned it. He did it at the right time. So it was no real surprise, I don't think, for the coaching staff. But man, it was awesome. That's why we do it, is watching those guys reach their goals. And both of those guys had aspirations to be wrestling at the national tournament, and they turned it on at the right time. Man, it was fun.
And speaking of goals, the superstar for the B program, Giuseppe Gira, he did fall a little bit short of his goals of being an All American this season, but
Yeah.
still, what a phenomenal season that he did have. He made the finals of the Grandview Open, made the finals of the Battle in the Bluegrass. He took fifth at the Missouri Valley Invitational, which we have talked in the past about as the toughest end
Mm-hmm.
season tournament of the year.
Yep.
He did have a win over All American Arohe Hart from Central Methodist, and then you and I both agree on this. If it hadn't been for the official missing an obvious call, he would also had a win over Marcus Branford
I
around a
mean, we
12
beat.
or
Yeah, I mean, we beat
yeah.
Brantford earlier in the year too. But
Yeah, 2-1,
yeah,
right? Yeah, I
yeah,
forgot. Yeah, you're right. I forgot to write that one down. Gira still has an opportunity, still has one more season left next year as a
yep.
senior, to be you guys' first All American. Talk a little bit about him and what he means to your program, not only in terms of being a leader on the team, but also in bringing recognition to the St. Ambrose wrestling team.
Man, so what's awesome about Giuseppe is, like, if you watch him wrestle his freshman year to now, I don't know how much better, like, as a wrestler he's gotten. It's We've been just working on fine tuning and cleaning up the things that he does really well. And this year he it it finally started clicking for him, right? Just all the things that we've been trying to get him to do. He fell a little short freshman year. He was good enough to be at the tournament there. Falls a little short, makes some adjustments. Was still kind of pushing back a little bit on some of the things we were trying to get him to do. And then, this year it was like, okay, hey, if I want to reach these goals, I do gotta be a little. I think on his part was, okay. I do gotta be a little more coachable, and you saw it. I mean, you could just see by the way he was attacking positions a lot better this year than he has in the last couple of years. But dude, he's so tough. He's so good, super coachable. Especially now, like, man, he can win the tournament. He can. He's right there with those guys. It's For him, is we just he in big matches from time to time he wrestles not to lose instead of just wrestle. Right, when he's wrestling trying to score points and his feet are moving, dude, he's so hard to score on when he is on his attack and when he's trying to get to you. Man, that kid is so tough. He's just going to continue to get better. I mean, I had to lock him out of the room when we came back from nationals. Like, I shut the room down for a little while because he's like, "Oh, I'm getting back in." I'm like, "No, like, take some time off. It's okay." So instead, he just goes, "Okay, I'll go to jujitsu and start doing that." And I'm like, "Bro, take some time off." Like, the kid's just a workhorse. He loves being in the room. He loves competing. That's what he does. That's what Giuseppe is. Giuseppe's a competitor. Um, so when we got to the tournament, it was you could tell he was really nervous, right? He was really nervous because he wants that, right? That he wants to be the first All American, right? That's what he wants. And he put so much pressure on himself. I mean, if you even watch him at the conference tournament, he didn't really wrestle that well. He didn't wrestle well at all and still got to the national tournament. That just shows like how good he is because our conference is so tough. But he has such lofty goals that he lets the goal get too big for him a little bit. Like, so now for us, it's just like, how do we get him to not focus on the goal and just focus on scoring points? So that's going to be the focus over this next year is just, dude, it'll happen for you if you just forget about that goal and just focus on being the absolute best wrestler you can be. Because your goal shouldn't be the first All-American, right? That's too small. Your goal should be national champion, right? And how are you going to win a national title? Can't be winning 3-2 matches, right? We got to go open it up.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
man,
One of the
he's the man.
Yeah, absolutely. You were speaking about changes from freshman to sophomore to junior year. What I noticed, the biggest change I noticed in Giuseppe between sophomore and junior year is he seemed to be more patient this year than what he
Yep.
was as a sophomore. And I think that really helped him a lot. Like I noticed watching him sophomore year, there were times where another wrestler would frustrate him and he would allow
Yep.
the wrestler to frustrate him. This year, like especially in a couple of the duels I watched him wrestle at the St. Ambrose duels and then at the Heart of America duels at St. Ambrose and then also against William Woods, I noticed when the wrestler was frustrating him, he just kind of relaxed and said, I'm going to attack him differently this time. Like he was going for an outside single, and the kid kept on trying to spladle him or trying to scoot around the corner. And Giuseppe's like,
Yep.
okay, you're going to do this. I'm going to adjust and go for a double leg. And then he nailed like 4 or 5 double legs in a row and almost teched the guy, So
Yeah.
it was fun to watch him do that.
Yeah. With him, it's just like, for him, it's just like, dude, we'll get better as the match goes on. Like, he's so hard to wrestle. He has a really hard style to wrestle because everything that he does, like, he's on collar, but he's kind of pushing away. Like, dude, he's just really hard to wrestle. I have a really hard time wrestling him. And for me, I've just been telling him, like, hey, look, dude, it might not be there in the first period, but it'll be there in the third. Just, you have to trust it and just keep chipping away. The better you get, the more guys are going to start game planning you. So it's like everybody's going to have a game plan for a while. But if you just keep peppering them and keep staying on them, like you're going to get it. And this year he kind of started realizing like, if I wrestle for the full 7, it'll be okay. Like you said, his freshman year, sophomore year, he would start getting frustrated and start trying to force positions. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to do that. Right? You're good enough to get one. And you're good
Absolutely.
enough on bottom, you're not going to get ridden. You're good enough on top that you can turn guys, you can ride them. Like you're there. You can wrestle with these guys. It's just trust it.
Um, Switching gears here a little bit, one of the not only for St. Ambrose but in all of NAI wrestling, one of the most inspirational stories for me personally was Georgino, uh, Montana State Northern. I talked to him earlier this year, and he told me that he actually thought that he might be done wrestling, that his wrestling career might be over. He said that you contacted him, and he decided to do a final season of wrestling at St. Ambrose. And what a phenomenal story he is. Takes eighth place at the Missouri Valley Invitational. Is an NAI national qualifier this year. Talk a little bit about him and his story.
Georgie is awesome. So I had the pleasure of recruiting Georgie when I was still at Montana State Northern. I brought him in there, um, and then just kind of the way the chips fell is I never really got to coach him because I brought him in his freshman year. He came in right. They get to campus in like August. I took the job here at St. Ambrose in like early October, I think. Yeah, it was like sometimes October, mid October. So, I was with them for a couple weeks, but a little bit of preseason, but I didn't really get to work with him much. But right, we traveled all the time. We see Northern. I'm still really good friends with Tyson. So we see him, and I'd always check in on him because he's, we built that relationship recruiting process, and then he finished up his time there, and he lied. He actually reached out to me.
Okay.
Right, he had that redshirt year, and yeah, so he had his COVID year, redshirt year. I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but he still had a year. So he kind of reached out. He was thinking about being done, and one of his friends was like, "Hey, why don't you reach out to Coach Bo? Because Northern didn't have the master's program he wanted to get, and he's like, maybe I need a little change of scenery." Um, Reached out, and I was like, "Heck yeah, man! Like I recruited you the first time. I obviously wanted to work with you, so getting him and then him redshirting last year, so just he redshirt year, especially when you're that old, is kind of hard, right? Because you've been doing college wrestling for so long that you want to just go, you just want to wrestle. For him was like he bounced the idea of like, hey, maybe I want a red shirt, and his red shirt year was good because you just got to see the growth, um, in his wrestling, because it's just like I'm not in the grind every day, and then this year was just like for him was, I mean, he wrestled 55 matches or something, like he wrestled so much, and I held him out of tournaments because I was like, dude, you've wrestled a lot, and he's like, no, I want to keep wrestling, I want to keep wrestling. I'm like, dude, just trust the process. Like you're there. I mean, I think he went into the conference tournament at 500. He was like 21-21 on the season or something. Or it was one point in time. He was 21-21 on the season. I'm like, dude, you're right there because I mean, I think at winter break he had a losing record. Um, Pull him down to 49, which is probably the weight he should have been at the whole time. It fit for the lineup. Him at 57, it fit better at the time. So he stepped up, and then winter break, we're like, hey, let's pull you down. Let's go. Let's go down to 49. And I mean, from there it was adjusting to the weight, and then he really turned it on, man. Georgie's awesome. He's one of those kids. It's kind of that cliche, but he'll run through a wall for you. I mean, it didn't matter what I asked him to do; he'd do it. It didn't matter. I mean, what changed his season around? You'll kind of like this was like if you go watch Georgie earlier in the year, dude. If you he didn't sprawl, and it wasn't hard to take him down if you got to his legs. Like he just didn't sprawl. If he couldn't hit a go behind and you got to him, it was really really easy to take him down. And I got really frustrated with him because he lost a couple matches where it's just like if you would just sprawl, you would be you would win matches. He just refused to sprawl. So one day, I don't remember what tournament we came back from, but I go, all right, here's the practice plan. Georgino, all you're doing is sprawling today. I had Diego Machado, who is as good as anybody I've ever coached to get to legs. I said, if he gets if he gets his hands locked, because Georgie would sprawl, but he'd quit sprawling, he'd keep getting lifted. I said, if his hands get locked and he gets you up, get you out of your sprawl, you have a sprint. And he did that for an hour and a half. And I think after about 30 sprints, he goes, okay, I'm not running sprints anymore. And then from that day on, dude, it was different. It was a different.
Yeah.
It was like kind of one of those things. It's like you almost got to beat it into him a little bit. Like
Yeah.
we're going. I was like, all right, guys, hey, smack up. We're going live. Except for you, Georgie. You keep doing the same thing you're doing. And Diego took 1,000 shots on him that day. I mean, I probably in an hour and a half. How many times can you do it? And all Georgie did was sprawl because it's like he knows how to do it. It's just you're not doing it. So you better figure it out. And I'm gonna throw the dude, the best leg attacker I've coached, at you. And he figured it out. And from then, I mean, go watch him at the end of the year. Like he was really, really score on. Right, guys would get to his legs and he would win those scrambles. He'd sprawl stuff. Like guys would get his legs up and he was fighting. And that just came from one day of I don't want to do that again.
That's pretty. That is a fun story. We've already hit on this just a little bit. I'd like to hit on it a little bit more. 2025, 2026 was a very up and down season for Josh Zeman.
Yep.
I personally feel sometimes that a wrestler needs a boost of confidence to start performing at the level that you know they can perform at. I think something snapped inside of him, something clicked inside of him when he earned that NAIA qualification.
Yeah.
um, I'm very, very excited and anxious to see him wrestle next season because I don't know about you, but I feel that when I saw him earn that qualification, he suddenly realized I am good at this. I am a
Mm-hmm.
top 32 kid. And I think he's
Yep.
going to show us that next season.
No, I agree with you. Like, it's that I said it for Giuseppe too, is like getting that monkey off your back. Right. Sometimes just like you're good enough, but you lose that match. You're right there and you lose maybe 5-4, or like you're right there, but you just can't get over the hump. It's kind of like I equate it to like bench press, like maxes sometimes. Like I can't get 225 up, I can't get it, I can't get it, I can't get
Yeah.
it. And then you get it, and then all of a sudden you go up like 15 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's something in your head. It's just like you're strong enough. It's just for whatever reason you have that block. And then once you get past that block, then boom, you make crazy jumps really, really fast. So for Zeman, it was his single leg finishes. I don't remember. We had a stretch of duels. I think it was like Augustana, Quincy, and like one other duel. We had a stretch of duels where he is in on single legs, in on him, in on him, in on him, in on him. Just couldn't finish. He kept getting beat in the scramble, or he wouldn't quite finish. So it was kind of the same thing. Like one day I brought him in, and I was just like, "Look, me and him did a 1-on-1 for like 45 minutes, and I was like, this is what you're doing, and this is what you're doing wrong." And we just drilled it for like 45 minutes, and from then on, it was like took off, right? Because it's just like, dude, you're doing it right. You're just, you're 6 inches off. You need to be here instead of here. You need to circle this way instead of that way. And from then on, it was just like I told you, going into the conference tournament, I knew Josh was going to be right in the mix because he can wrestle with those guys. I mean, I see him in Georgie. I knew Georgie was going to qualify, and I watched that battle every day. Like I watch Giuseppe and Zeman wrestle all the time. I know where Josh is. It's got to put it together. Yeah, I'm excited for him next year. That's he's tough to wrestle. It's not fun wrestling Josh. You get a
And
lot of headbutts when you wrestle
the
Josh.
the thing that I love the most about him, when I watched quite a few of you guys' duels live this year. Um, I like the fact that he doesn't. Some people like to sit back. He doesn't. He's constantly going at you, constantly trying to score on you. He can be ahead
Yeah.
11-0, or the score can be 0-0. Either way, he's looking for a takedown, and I really appreciate that as a wrestling fan. Um,
Yeah.
and speaking of both Giuseppe and Josh, they're both going to be seniors this year, both going to be leaders on the team. You guys also return Jean-Luc Guerra,
Mm-hmm.
Giuseppe's little brother, Mitchell Murphy and Brody Schmidt, both freshmen last year who had some nice wins this year, gained some valuable experience. A guy that I'm excited to watch next year, who I think will be a junior this year, and I'm going to butcher his last name, Nick Makwala. Am I
Yep.
saying that
Nick.
correctly?
Yeah, McQualla.
Um, yeah, I thought he wrestled very well at the Heart of America tournament. Came up a little bit
Mm-hmm.
short of earning a qualification. He has a just an absolute nasty trapped arm tilt that he's very very good
Yeah.
at. So you guys actually have an opportunity next year to perhaps have the most amount of national qualifiers that you guys have ever had.
Yeah. I mean, returning Giuseppe and Josh is huge, right? Just guys who've you. What's cool about Giuseppe and Josh is like they've been really good. They were really good when they got here, and then they figured out that college wrestling's really hard, and they've just continued to. Right, they're two of the most coachable guys in the room, and that's why you see like the jumps they've made. But yeah, man, we had a really really young team. You like Tyler Clark, right? True freshman. He's really really good. Mitchell Murphy, that kid is going to be something special. John Luke, like John Luke, he's got to learn how to get off bottom. But Brody's, we were really lucky to have a really young freshman class this year. Up and down, we were a little banged up. We had to shelf a couple guys who, man, might have been right there to be in the mix to wrestle at the national or conference tournament, national tournament. But no, Nick, like what Nick did at the conference tournament was no shock to any of us. I actually expected Nick to do a little bit better. Because he is so good. It's he started like he started off really good, and then so he was a redshirt freshman this year, so he's a sophomore. He redshirted last year, um, got knee surgery, but with Nick was he was surprised how long the season was, I think. So it was like there's a stretch during the season where, man, college wrestling gets really, really hard and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And it's every day, twice a day, you're in the room, you're battling. Like Nick's in a tough weight range in our room, right? You're gonna go, what are you gonna go wrestle John Luke? Or are you gonna go wrestle, Brody, or you're gonna wrestle, Colin O'Grady? Like we got talent around it. And then he wrestled Jaden a lot, he wrestled Sartori a lot. Like I think he got in his head a little bit, and then towards the end of the season, I think you saw him start to come out of his shell a little bit. Was like, oh, hey, season's almost over. I'm gonna wrestle now. And it's like, no, you can't turn it on now. You got to be doing that all year. But no, man, he's good. I think we spent a lot of his was just getting through from some performance anxiety, and wrestling's mental. I mean, it really is. So it was just we spent a lot of time just trying to figure that out with him. But man, Nick, I'm really, really excited for Nick's future. We get 3 more years with him, and he can wrestle with those guys. I think he finally started to figure out the style of wrestling that he wants to wrestle towards the end of the year. Um, and you saw it at the conference tournament. Like even the matches he lost, I think the match on the backside he lost, he was winning like 7-1 and then got lat dropped. Like, he's when he starts getting in his flow and he starts moving his feet, like he's really, really tough. And I think he started figuring it out a little bit, probably a little too late. I would have loved for him to figure that out in December, not at the conference tournament, but he figured it out. Right. And now we got 3 more years.
Yeah, just and like I was saying to you before, he seems to me like the kind of guy that is just going to be an absolute monster on top. Because I mean, I was really impressed with
Oh yeah,
his
dude,
his
he's
top
so good on
wrestling,
top.
big time. Yes.
You remember Dylan Miners that
Oh,
you remember
absolutely. Yeah.
Dylan wrestled for me. He was our 97 pounder last year. You
Yep.
should watch because Dylan's really good on top. You should watch Nick and Dylan wrestle. Like those are really fun
Yeah.
scraps. Yeah, yeah, those
That'd be
those boys
awesome.
get going. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, we're gonna lose. Unfortunately, we're gonna lose Moraga this year to graduation.
Yep.
We're also losing Tyler Casey.
Mm-hmm.
One of my absolute favorite guys. Ever. And I mean, I've been doing the whole college wrestling media thing for 20 years. I've been watching wrestling for 32 years. Jeremiah Morris is one of my absolute favorite people I've ever met in wrestling. I mean, just talk about
Yep.
a great kid, a guy that I really think, you talk about Giuseppe and Josh and Georgino, being the leaders on the team as far as the actual wrestling is concerned. I feel a lot of the heart of the St. Ambrose wrestling team with Jerry Morris.
Yep.
You also losing Dalton Koenig to
Mm-hmm.
graduation as well. You had a phenomenal group of seniors here, some guys that really just had a passion and a love. They made coming these guys, in my opinion, Tyler Casey, Georgino Moraga, Jeremiah Morris. Unfortunately, I didn't really get to know Dalton all that well, but the other three, and I'm sure Dalton is included in this as well, they made coming to a wrestling duel, coming to a wrestling tournament, whatever it was, they made it fun. For me as a
Mm.
media guy, for me as a wrestling
Yep.
fan, because of their passion and their love for wrestling was just so contagious.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about Georgie. Georgie's the man. Just bringing in a guy who had been wrestling for a while. He just kind of stepped into that leadership role really well. We've hit on him, so I won't even speak on him a whole lot. But like Casey, Casey's his wrestling career was just kind of was tough because I don't know if he ever actually wrestled a season where he wasn't injured. Maybe his freshman year, junior or sophomore year. I don't remember if it was I think it was his ankle, and then his junior year was his knee. And then this year, I mean, he missed the majority of the season with an elbow. I mean, I think we when we finally got the okay to wrestle him was like the Loris tournament. I think like he wrestled Grandview and then didn't wrestle again until Loris. So his senior year and really his whole college career, he was just so banged up. And that's a dude whose wrestling IQ, he comes from a really good high school program. That kid has a really, really good wrestling IQ. So like losing him, especially for our upper weights, is going to be really tough because I mean, he was player coach this year. I don't know how many times we'd be, running practice, doing technique, doing stuff, and he'd be off with the heavyweights. Like he's meaner than me. He'd be over there yelling at him, "No, do it again, do it right." Like he was awesome, right? He was, we're getting
Yeah.
ready for duels, and he's putting the heavyweights through drills because he's like, "Look, you're gonna get in this situation," and he's a bigger guy, so he'd kind of put him in a little bit of a more bigger guy situations. And no, dude, Tyler Casey, losing him, he's not super vocal, as you can tell. Like he's a little more reserved, a little more laid back. But when it comes to wrestling, like he understands it. So, and he's good, man. He's good. So losing him's gonna suck. I really, really love Tyler. I feel bad for him because he never really got outside of his freshman year, never really got a full college season. Makes the Hart finals last year, and then this year, we had pretty high expectations for him. No fault of his own. I mean, his elbow was destroyed, and he goes. It came down to where it's like, hey, look, your elbow's hurt. You can wrestle or you cannot. And it would have been really easy for him to say, you know what, I'm done. Would have been really, really easy for him. And he's like, you know what, I want to go out on my terms. And that was, at the conference tournament, that's the best I'd seen him wrestle in a long time. Just unfortunately he is in a really good weight and a really good conference. It happens. If he got to wrestle all year, maybe he sets himself up a little bit better. But I mean, that's part of the sport, right? It is what it is. Jerry, man, like you hit the head is like Jerry is the heart. That's losing Jerry's going, just on a culture standpoint, is gonna suck because Jerry is the heart of the team. At you see at duels, like he's the biggest cheerleader, right? He's the biggest cheerleader on the team. He's yelling from the stands. He's wherever we're at, he's Matt's side cheering on his teammates. The way to encompass Jeremiah Morris probably the best is conference tournament, loses last match he's ever going to wrestle. First thing he does, goes off on the side, he starts running sprints because that's what you do after your matches, right? He didn't sulk in it. He took a minute after, and I just kind of sat back and I watched him, and he's just running his sprints like he did, and he came over, and I gave him a hug, and one of the guys on the team goes, Jerry, why were you running the sprints, man? You're done. He goes, because the job wasn't over yet. You know, that's just the kind of kid Jerry is. There's a right way to do it. And if there's ever anybody you wanted to succeed in the sport, it was Jerry because of how hard he worked. But just the bad part about wrestling is you can love it with all your heart, and wrestling might not love you back. But he's going to be successful in anything that he does. Jeremiah Morris, if there's anybody out there that needs anybody to work for him, like that is he will be the heart of your company. Like he cares, and losing him is gonna suck. Luckily, he's local, so I'll get to see him. But not having that smile every day is gonna be it's gonna be different, man. I've enjoyed my 4 years with Jerry.
I say this with all sincerity. You meet people in life, and you see them, you get to know them and stuff. If I had any power, a magician or a god or whatever you would have to be to make something like this happen, if I could have snapped my fingers and made him a national champion, I would have done it just like that.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I thought
There's
very
nobody.
highly
There's
of him.
nobody who deserves it more. Like wrestling. There's like the cliche, like, oh, I deserved it because I worked hard. Like everybody works hard, but just who Jerry is as a person.
Yeah.
I just like, you don't want to have favorites, right? I don't have favorites, but there's guys that you want to see succeed. And man, there was Giuseppe might hate me for saying it, but if I could have traded one, like man, I
Yeah.
wanted Jerry. I wanted it for Jerry probably more than anybody, just because,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, I get it.
like
I get
I
it.
wanted it for him so bad, and because he did everything right. He wrestled his first 3 years at a heavyweight, and he realized like I'm not getting it done at heavyweight. I need to get at a weight where I feel good. And he came to me, and he was weighing like 250 at the time. And he goes, Coach, I want to go to 97. And I said, I'll
Wow.
let you go to 97 But so he was getting ready
Yeah.
to leave for home, and he was at like 240. And I go, okay, well then if you're going to 97, then you need to show back up to campus in the fall at 215. And he showed up at 214.
It's awesome.
Because like I wanted to see if he was really about it, right? Because
Right,
it's like
right,
if you
right,
show up
right.
at
Yeah.
250, if you show up at 250, it's like, dude, 197, it's not going to be good for you, right? Because it's just like you're not doing it the right way. And all summer long in the gym, working out, fixing his diet. Like he showed up at 214. Like it was awesome, man. Just losing a guy just high character like Jerry is, you can't replace a Jeremiah Morris, right? You can't. I'm not gonna. It's not gonna be fun to go and try to replace Giuseppe, but I can find. There's good wrestlers out there, and Giuseppe is awesome as a leader, but like you can't replace Jerry. You can't. There's just not a lot of people like him.
I Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Coach, my last question for you today is I think one of the reasons why San Ambrose Wrestling is making the improvements and getting better and better every season is you have a phenomenal staff.
Yeah.
You have every member of the Toronto's family that's ever been on your staff. You have
Yep.
Diego Mikado, Mick Chagnon, plus many more names on there. What does it mean to you as a head coach to have so many people on board helping you and wanting to grow the program and help it become successful?
Man, it's nice. I'll say like my first few years, it was no, and this is my fault. Was like I did everything. Well, it was because like I wanted to do it, right? Wrestling coaches were crazy. We have super control issues, whatever. But like this year, I finally let go. And I think that's why you saw the improvements that we did was like I finally let go. And I was like, dude, you can't do it all. Like you have Jaden, Diego, Dan, Mick. Mick was around a bunch. Dylan Myers around a bunch. Diego's around a bunch. Added Heath. That was huge. John. Um, Sartori, more than half of those guys wrestled for me, which was really nice because they understood, the verbiage and the way that we communicate certain things. Like you might call it, like an ankle ride. We call that the Iowa ride, whatever, right? It's just like little details here and there and they've gone through it and they've been there with me. And then adding in, veteran coaches like John's been around for a long time. He's helped me out a bunch. Adding in Coach Heath, he coached for high school for like 20 some years, like just adding in some veteran coaches because I've still only been doing this for 5 years. But I finally let go and let them do the things like Coach Heath brings a lot. He's coached for a long time. Like he has skills that frankly 2 years ago I wouldn't have taken advantage of. I just wouldn't have. I would have tried to do it. This year I kind of was like, okay, hey, but Jaden was really, really good on top. Hey, Jaden, let's go over your top stuff. I could teach it because I know what he does. Why would I do it? You got the dude who did it. Let Jaden do it. So it's been awesome. And having so many of the guys that I coached want to stick around the program's been really cool. That's been awesome just because like those relationships that I did build. The crummy part about coaching sometimes is you build these relationships with these guys for 4 or 5 years and then they leave. And then, if they're not around, yeah, you might text with them a little bit or, get the wedding announcements, birth announcements and stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But like the relationship is still always there, but like you don't get to keep growing it, getting to see the growth that Diego made just as a 18-year-old kid to, now he's a professional. He's got a professional job. He's still coming in and helping out in the room. I get to see him quite a bit. I saw him, Diego, Jaden, Dan, like they came to my daughter's 4th birthday over the
Yeah.
weekend. Like, just the relationships that you're getting to
Yeah.
build is awesome. I wouldn't trade it, man. We as a competitor, you hate losing, right? So walking away from the national tournament, having 3 guys fall short of their goals, like it's not fun. But just getting to see the impact that the program's making on these guys, it's like it's worth it. It is. like at the end of the day, like I get really mad because I hate losing. I think everybody does.
Yeah,
But when you kind of take a step back and look at it as like what are you actually doing is having the program having the impact on these guys, and they're all good dudes. One of the best things that I heard about what you say is like it's fun to be around my guys.
it is.
As a coach, that means more than hey, your team's really good. It's like my guys being good dudes. Yeah, in wrestling, we want to be good, or in sports or whatever. Like you want to be good, but being good people should matter more. At least to me, right? It
And
should.
that really, you saying that, I'm gonna end with this, is that I obviously, I think people can tell by as much writing as I do, as much traveling as I do, as much coverage as I do. I know a lot of wrestling teams and a lot of wrestlers, a lot of wrestling coaches. I mean, I go all over the place. I mean, you follow me on Twitter, you know
Yeah.
that I'm everywhere all the time.
Yep.
If I were to sit down and like really talk about the St. Ambrose wrestling program and the team and to evaluate it, that's exactly where I go. It's exactly what I think about. Like I've told you this before on other interviews. I drag my girlfriend with me everywhere. She's
Mm-hmm.
always there. She doesn't come from a wrestling family. She's more of a basketball family. So this whole wrestling thing has been really new to her. She's always excited when she knows we're going to Davenport. That's her favorite place to
Heck yeah.
go. If I tell her that we're going someplace else, she's like, "Oh, okay, okay, we're going there, we're going there." She's like, "What's going on this weekend?" "Oh, we're going to St. Ambrose." She's ready to go. She puts on her stuff, puts on her hat. She's ready to go down there. So you definitely, yeah, I just agree with you 100% on that. Unfortunately, we are now running out of time. I do want to
Yep.
thank you for being a part of JT1 Wrestle today. It's always a pleasure and an honor having you on. And it's probably way premature, too early to be saying this, but I'm already excited for next season.
Yeah, me as well, man. Thank you for everything you do for wrestling. You're the top of the line. I really do appreciate it, and thanks again for having me.
You bet.